News of the day, Marcus Freeman will not be taking over play calling duties from defensive coordinator Chris Ash. I'm Tim O'Malley, joined for Irish Illustrated Instant Analysis by Tim Prister of Irish Illustrated, John Brice of FootballScoop, and as always, we are brought to you by the RV Manufactured Housing Hall of Fame and Northern Indiana Event Center in Elkhart, Indiana. Tim Prister, I think 45% of the press conference came after you asked the question of, is it possible, or are you considering taking over play calling duties from defensive coordinator Chris Ash after 10 very tough quarters of football through the first 12 quarters of the season?
Did you get the impression that he was prepared for that question? I mean, he seemed pretty fired up about it. And you know what? I mean, I've got to admit that my snap judgments after the game were that something's got to be done with Chris Ash, and you sleep on it, and you write your column the next day, and you know what Marcus Freeman's going to do. He's going to bring his group together, and he kept, the hand signal of bring his group together, and that's what he's done. Now, I did ask him about that, brought up Mike Elko because he took over play calling duties for Texas A&M, and he said, if I want Chris Ash to call something different, I'll say, Chris Ash, call this. And that's, I mean, I think a lot of times that kind of stuff is forgotten about coaches, about Marcus Freeman. He's going to get to the point. If he wants something done, he's going to get it done, and he's not in a position, and he pointed this out repeatedly, not in a position to be pointing fingers at each other. As soon as that happens, you lose your team. He said it over and over again. That's not going to happen to this team. And I believe him. He was pretty convincing.
JB, he did say, I know the definition of insanity. Believe me. He did not absolve the coaches either. Yeah. He mentioned how much more they have to do, obviously, in terms of paring down the teaching. And I thought it was interesting. He said, when we play man, we aren't playing with the right technique. So my question for you off the air, so I'll ask you on the air as well. They used to play with the right technique in man coverage, and the same defensive backs coach is still there. So there's some type of disconnect in the secondary as well.
There's a disconnect, or there's a late camp change. We've heard about both. We don't know. But yeah, Mike Mickens, in my opinion, is the best secondary coach in America. He's the best developer of defensive backs in America, and I would contend that's pretty much beyond dispute. That was an odd thing to hear because it confirmed what we had kind of heard away from a press conference, that there has been some changes, that guys aren't necessarily understanding that. And Marcus Freeman point blank said what we reported throughout the month of August, and that is the defense whipped the offense throughout the month of August. And Marcus Freeman said today, I never saw any of this in August. The defense played with much better velocity. The defense played with much better clarity. Another thing that stood out to me today on that same side of the ball, he said, look, we had a defensive staff meeting yesterday, and it was not comfortable, and I didn't want it to be comfortable. And that would have been certainly a question that I had queued up before we ran out of time today. Those things happen. But Marcus Freeman, as animated, I think, as we've seen him, certainly as animated as we've ever seen him 48 hours after a win.
There was a joke on our email that if we're going to split up this transcript, I'll take the offense and everybody else can take the defense, because there's going to be a lot of defensive questions asked today. And I asked Coach Freeman, they have prided themselves. I didn't use the Al Golden word because you're not supposed to probably say that if you want to get a good answer, but they have prided themselves for a couple years on saying halftime is too late to adjust. You adjust series to series in modern college football. That was actually Al Golden's exact wording. Now, they actually have played their best defense in the third and early fourth quarter. You've been able to point that out in all the tail of the tapes. We know they gave up the touchdown against Miami. After that, they played well. The adjustments are not happening series to series. It's a difficult fix for Marcus Freeman, and I wasn't really sure, other than selling out what's going on, how in the world you go about fixing those things.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go down that path of talking points as well, because they've given up 70% of the points they've given up have come in the first half. Now, they're making good halftime adjustments, right, but as you say, that's too late. They've only given up, like 10 points a game, 11 points a game in the second half, and that's great. But it just makes you wonder during the week, why are you not honing in on the tendencies of the opponent so you can start the game fast? And look, Purdue's going to come in and they're going to throw everything at Notre Dame and try something different. Couple things worked, a fake punt, a derivative of what they did against USC. I get that. But, he's fired up today, and, I thought it was great. And, it's hard to understand. I'm going back to what you guys were talking about the technique of the defensive backs. It's not the same. What is different in this defense? And it's been a change of coordinator. But I want to jump to real quick. I thought there was a great offensive question by Pete Sampson about the balance of the offense, and what Freeman said is exactly right. You run the ball, you now open up things downfield. CJ Carr is recognizing things, and we saw the damage he can do downfield. He can do that damage against Arkansas too, because that's a real vulnerable defense.
I think he's going to have to, because that's quite an offense Arkansas can throw out there once in a while as well. JB, I wanted to ask you, because one thing that surprised me offensively was when Coach Freeman mentioned, hey, this is as confident as I've ever been in our offensive line. And thinking back to, I think he means this year.
I think
this
so.
is the most confident he's been in the offensive line this year, and they did play their best game in Game 3, but against an opponent that wasn't as good as the first two opponents defensively.
He said ever, so
you're going literal on this.
You can try to subtext it all you want.
I'm trying to help him, man.
I was stunned by that, because I remember an O-line that had Joe Alton, Blake Fisher, and some other badasses. So that surprised me a little bit. He was very much complimentary of Anthony Knapp. He made it clear they're not doing anything on the offensive line. They're not changing that 5 barring an injury. He's never felt more confident about an O-line group ever as head coach at Notre Dame than what he feels.
September 16th, man. That's all it was.
And what he feels about this group. He specifically liked that they won some one-on-one matchups and really moved Purdue off the ball. He said they had a little more simplified plan this week because of the fact that Purdue and Barry Odom is really good and he can do some exotic stuff. So they had simplified things to make it easier for the offensive line to just maul people and open up running lanes for the running backs, which obviously happened since both those guys average more than 8 yards per carry in Saturday's game. Another interesting element to me was him praising the unselfishness of the wide receivers, and also saying he feels as good about that group as he's ever felt. And that's an actual fair statement right there. That's the best that group's been in a number of years, even predating Marcus Freeman.
Yes, for sure.
I want to jump in about the offensive line, because I know a lot of people are down on Anthony Knapp. He gave up a bad sack. There was a bit of a confusion as to who he was going to block, and that hesitation is when the safety got around him. You got to block safeties too, right?
You do have to block safeties as
well. You do, but that's when he got around him. But I want to say, and so we're talking about Knapp that was hurt. He got hurt again, left for one play.
Right.
We've seen him get banged up before, and he is like refusing to come off the field or to stay off the field. He came back in, so he was compromised when he gave up that sack. But after that, you watch it, you'll get a chance to watch the tape. He was blocking his butt off.
Oh, I've seen the
after
game.
that.
Yeah,
it was outstanding. And Gerby Lambert, I've always thought natural tackle, and I still think he is. But damn, he's pretty good at guard. And when he's on the move, that is an imposing figure. When he gets to the other side and is ready to wall it off, you got a lot of navigating to do to get around that dude.
Good to see him pop out to tackle as needed, though, because you didn't know if Anthony Knapp was going to be out one play. Well, no one can know how long someone's going to be out when they get injured in that situation. He did pop out to tackle Absher at right guard. Again, I don't know why that wasn't the obvious change at the most important time of the season to date, but it was not. We want to stick with some personnel. Jared Dawson, as Drew Mentok pointed out, 37 snaps in both the first 2 games, did not play in this one. Injury, according to Marcus Freeman, didn't practice late last week. He'll be available this week, and they expect him to play. I asked about Faremo and Elijah Hughes because, look, Elijah Hughes had rotated in for 1 or 2 snaps. So all of a sudden he's in there as much as any defensive tackle. Madden Faremo was a surprise because, not that he's a good player, I just thought that was an October call-up situation when we had spoke with Max Bola in the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, he had more snaps than Jalen Sneed. He had almost 25 snaps in the game. He looked good. He helped force the interception, and there's some indication he maybe wasn't in the right spot that he was supposed to be when he forced that interception, but he had the football awareness and instincts as well as the physical skill set to be able to disrupt that pass and allow the Irish to pick it off. I think we're going to continue to see more and more of him. I think based on what Marcus Freeman told Drew Mentok today about Dallas Golden, we're going to continue to see Notre Dame find a way to get Golden more and more involved. And we said it Saturday night. Marcus Freeman said it today. I think it's worth reiterating. They will be so much better overall as a defensive unit for what those young guys experienced and learned on Saturday night.
Tim, I want to turn over to you for Golden, but really quickly, some cosmetic changes and maybe a real change on the depth chart. Cosmetically, Jadon Blair joined the depth chart for the first time, so to get put on a depth chart for the first time, you do have to make a little bit of move. He moved to third-string safety instead of Ethan Long being at both third-string safeties. Carson Hobbs moved out of nickel, moved only to corner in an or situation with Chance Tucker, and we thought that was a bad sign until we kind of broke it down and thought, wait a minute, he's been playing nickel for 6 months. He probably does have to retrain at the position he's backing up at corner, so he might not be the first person in at this point. Dallas Golden officially listed as the nickel behind Devonta Smith, but I heard you make a impressed sound when Marcus Freeman said we moved him to nickel last Monday, because you watched Dallas Golden play football. It didn't look like you moved him to nickel on Monday.
No, he's a ball player. And that was a guy, I think we're all really excited about seeing him get some action this year. and he looked really good. He was beaten a few times. I mean, he's playing a new position, and he's playing some guys that know where they're going, and he's not exactly sure where he's going. But the interception was magnificent. You saw the breadth of his athleticism, and he got beat a few times. But I think we know you've got a good pairing there moving forward in Devontae Smith and Dallas Golden at that nickel position.
Go ahead,
I would just really quickly add, not only did he just move there last Monday, but he told us Saturday night he didn't play any nickel in high school. So I think that's significant. And another point of significance with his emergence there is that it could mean Notre Dame finally doesn't have to go into the transfer portal for a nickel. And I think that's extremely significant because that's a position you want to be able to build some continuity in and have a guy that you know is going to be a linchpin in what is a very important position in your defense, and know that you can have him for more than 1 year. Same thing is on the other side of the football. Now they have a multi-year, looks like a future star at the quarterback
I'm
position.
glad you brought that up because I think Dallas Golden in the future, the nickel, allows you to have that luxury. I want to remind everybody, if growth at quarterback is not linear, it definitely is not at nickel. I have about a 15-year study of only a guy named Kyle Hamilton not getting benched at one point as a freshman nickel. Dallas Golden has some learning to do, but he has the athleticism to pull it off. We have a podcast to go do. For Tim Prister of Irish Illustrated, John Brice of Football Scoop, I'm Tim O'Malley. Thanks for watching Irish Illustrated Instant Analysis, brought to you by the RV Manufactured Housing Hall of Fame and Northern Indiana Event Center in beautiful Elkhart, Indiana.